right, welcome everyone. We are back in session. Actually, we did not conclude executive session. We will resume executive session at the end of this meeting. We do not have anything to report from the first half of our executive session. And we do not anticipate any business to report thereafter, so there will be no need for anybody to remain at the end of the session, at the end of the public session. So we will just call the meeting back into order at, I have a glare, what time we have? 7:44. And if we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Ms. Johnson, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just want to remind everybody of the emergency exits. The emergency exits are located to remind everyone that in the event of an emergency, please leave in an orderly fashion through these exits. Immediately to the rear of the boardroom and to my right and to the audience, to my right, to the audience left. This is a smoke-free and school district. There is no smoking permitted in the building or anywhere on the school grounds. This is also a hate-free bully district. And since this is the first meeting of the new year, welcome everyone and Happy New Year. Okay, we will start with the board consent agenda. Item C, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, President Police. The administration recommends the approval of board consent items reflected in Schedule C1 through C7.
Okay, we need a motion and a second for C1 through C7. Motion by Trustee Flippin, seconded by Trustee Barry. Any questions on C1 through C7? Seeing no questions, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. And the motion is so adopted. Now we have communications and announcements.
Thank you.
And that leads us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Police. I feel like I'm losing my vision. I could take my reading glasses off and everything is blurry. Make it back here. Right. Just follow this. All right, Happy New Year to the Board of Education. Hoping everybody had a nice holiday break. Looking forward to a prosperous 2024. So let's get right to it. So ironically, I've been reminding the community about our procedures for snow days. And yesterday, we had a dicey weather forecast. And I feel badly that we had to cancel our extracurricular activities after 6 p.m., but the weather forecast was quite ominous. In addition, our neighboring districts had also canceled. In terms of our concert, our chamber concert we're looking forward to, that's going to be not necessarily rescheduled. We had to postpone it to get the stage ready for our spring musical, which is happening in a few weeks. It's going to be SpongeBob SquarePants. But the chamber students will be performing on March 25th. That's when we have Chamber Concert 2. So we're just going to incorporate their performances into that concert. Once again, in terms of school closings, the community will be informed as soon as possible via a Connect Ed call. You can always tune into those radio stations for information regarding school closings. And usually Channel 12 also has an updated website that's pretty timely. In terms of delayed openings again, when a delayed opening happens, that means we start our schools 2 hours later than their normal time. In the case of delayed openings, the one thing I want to emphasize is that before school programs are canceled in those scenarios. So again, we would notify the community as soon as possible. And early dismissal is something that almost never happens, only because of the complexities in organizing buses at the end of the day. But it shouldn't happen. Typically, the high school is dismissed about a half hour early and 15 minutes early for the elementary schools and intermediate school, which doesn't really make that huge of a difference. That's why that's kind of a rare occurrence. I will say this, this is the first time in my career that I had to sort of cancel after-school activities because of rain. And we're also concerned about people who live in southern Bellport because we know it's prone to flooding. But I have to give a commendation to one of our community families The DeCipio family actually made it to Brookhaven Elementary School via kayak this morning. True story. So big shout out to James and Sam, who are in kindergarten and third grade. They're on that kayak. That's a real picture from this morning. So talk about Clipper commitment. So I just wanted to give a big shout out because obviously school attendance is important to the family. So wanted to acknowledge them. Moving on, subsequent to our last board meeting, we had a couple of holiday celebrations that I just want to highlight. We had snacks with Santa Clark. Great fun activity. A lot of community children participated. The highlight for me was to be told by Santa Clark that I was on his good list, which made for a good Christmas holiday for myself. And I also want to thank our Kramer PTA for all the support, and not just this activity, but all the activities that Kramer hosts for its community. Moving on, we had the first of our holiday festivities at our elementary schools and winter concerts. This is our Vern W. Kritz holiday concert, which was a lot of fun. Big shout out to Mr. Andrade, our music teacher, who's really inspired the kids to do some complex numbers for that concert, as well as our head custodian, Vinny Marino, who accompanied the children on his guitar for a rendition of Feliz Navidad, one of my favorite songs, not because it's a Spanish song, but because it has very simple lyrics to remember. Moving on, we had a mini concert at Brookhaven. This little concert by this class was intended for the Brookhaven Public Free Library, but because of the weather, shocker, it was raining, the library came to Brookhaven, and the kids got to perform for parents. They were super enthusiastic. Their actual winter concert is scheduled, it's coming up January 18th, and that'll be the third grade concert at Brookhaven. And Frank P. Long is still doing their winter concert. That's scheduled for January 23rd. There are more holiday festivities at Bellport Middle School, including their winter dance. Although from what I observed, most of the students were just bouncing up and down and running around, but they had a fantastic time. Trustee Barry may recognize one of the young ladies in the picture with the polar bear. I will forward it to you if you'd like. But really the highlight was the interaction between the kids. They actually danced at one point, and even the dance battle that occurred between one of our safety officers and a 6th grade student. It was pretty cool to watch. So the kids had a fantastic time at the middle school for that. We also had our, we started the first year of our Bellport Middle School GSA Club. They had a holiday celebration, which President Police was invited to, and myself. It's nice to see the kids in a comfortable setting, spreading some holiday cheer. Our Bellport Middle School musicians also got to perform at MacArthur Airport, which is really nice. I had an opportunity to visit the airport. They played in the lobby for the public, which was pretty cool to sit there and see our kids sort of highlighted and playing in the airport. And it was a morning, again, with rainy weather, so I didn't think the airport would even be open, but it was busy, and then our kids did a great job there. And the final highlight is our South Country Singers, which is Bellport Middle School's a cappella group, got accepted or qualified to compete in a state a cappella high school competition. That's going to happen in February in Troy, New York, so I wish them luck. But it's a great accomplishment for Mr. Sherlock and his group of performers. These pictures were taken at a pasta fundraiser they had at the middle school. It was lots of fun for all in attendance. Shifting up to the high school, prior to the break, the Athletes Helping Others went over to our Head Start program to distribute some holiday cheer and Christmas gifts to the students there. That's Sandra McAvoy, who was giving holiday gifts out. The children came with their advisor, Mr. Grassi. But the highlight of that event wasn't so much the exchange of gifts, and again, seeing little kids who actually believe in Santa Claus and they're so excited to see Santa there for them. It was the interaction between the high school students and the young kids. There's a picture there of our very own Bryn Johnson hugging a young child. But it was cool to see the interaction and how the smaller children or young learners look up to high school students. And they were really fabulous. And to me, I really was touched by just all the fun that our high school students had with the kids. So a big shout out to the Student Senate, those members, and also Students Helping Others, or Athletes Helping Others, who coerced me into buying 4 or 5 pizza pies for them afterwards. So it's a nice crafty little ask.
7.
I bought 7.
7.
They're crafty. Well deserved though, so I'm very happy. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed, and thank you for spreading some happiness. Staying at the high school, we had the first winter concert, which was also fantastic. It featured our treble choir, which was conducted by Mr. Finnegan and also accompanied by Ms. Anderson. Our jazz band, the featured Dennis over here, who did a fantastic job. The saxophone was amazing to watch, and both his mom, who was here, and myself had tears in our eyes because it's such amazing to see when kids rise to the occasion and play so well. That was conducted by Ms. Wasson. We had also our mixed chorus conducted by Mr. Finnegan, and again accompanied by Ms. Anderson. Ninth grade orchestra, which is conducted by Ms. Valenti, and our symphonic band, again conducted by Ms. Watson. Great night of music and a great night of talent. That continued in their second concert, which featured our string orchestra, which was conducted by Ms. Valenti, our wind ensemble, conducted by Ms. Wasson, our concert orchestra, conducted by Ms. Hartman, and finally our South Country Symphony that featured both orchestra students and band students working together. It was pretty amazing to behold. It's a big shout out to all of our music students who took some time to take a couple selfies with me. Really a huge source of pride for the South Country Central School District. It's not just the quality of the talent we see on stage, but the sheer number of students who participate. So really excited about that. Moving towards the academic realm, it was a pleasure for me to attend our Center of Excellence induction ceremony, which inducted several kids outside of National Honor Society for their academic achievements and their character achievements. These are role models and leaders for the school, so it's great to acknowledge them and give them a little time to shine in the spotlight. And as I walked around the high school, I had to highlight AP Language with Miss Lafferty. You know, I was walking by, students got excited. I don't know if they were so much excited to see me or to get out of their annotations they had to work on in class, but they were happy to share what they were discussing about civil disobedience. And I had an opportunity to talk about a time when I was a college student and we had a protest at the campus. So it actually turned into a pretty good discussion with the class. So I just wanted to thank Ms. Lafferty and her students for being so welcoming. And on the same day, I got invited into Mr. Scioli's class for a preview of our Civics Day presentation, which I'm going to talk about in this next slide, because we hosted our Civics Day at the high school, which was always a fantastic day for me, because again, it's about empowering student voices, giving students kind of the tools and sort of the mechanisms by which they could advocate for change. So during this day, we got to see presentations on the installation of climate control or air conditioning at the high school. These are the students who gave me the preview a week prior, and they were happy to hear that, you know, through this energy performance contract, it's actually in the works. So it's great news to report back to them. Students also advocated for the installation of external AED devices to be placed in outdoor fields, which made a lot of sense. Their rationale was it cuts down the response time should there be an emergency in an athletic field. The next one was for a later start time at the high school, which we've discussed a lot. We've actually had consultants looking at the probability of even changing it. Their request was for a 7:30 start time, which doesn't seem that monumental, but any time after 7:09 seems like it would be a plus. So that's something we're certainly going to consider. We also, our very own Rick Johnson, had a presentation on loosening restrictions on website filtering. They presented something entirely different for me because I never thought about it from the lens of censorship. And there are certain topics that high school students should be researching. They get flagged or get blocked. And so they kind of put up a good case of we should be more mindful of how we filter these websites out if it's limiting their access to do research. So a big shout out to her group. They also advocated for blue light security call boxes on our campuses, specifically at the Bellport High School and Bellport Middle School. If you're not familiar with blue light call boxes, they're very common in college campuses. They're basically these small towers that have blue lights with a button that can signal help from the police. And their kind of sort of case, and they have research, is it's a great place for students to wait for the parents to pick them up, because it adds that kind of layer of security, because people are less prone to do something bad if you know you have the proximity to these blue light devices. We also, it's very popular. They presented on some improvements on the high school commons, including better access to Wi-Fi, etc. Also, changes in high school policies, including open campus for high school seniors. And finally, more career fairs for high school students and more access to career options for those students who are not college bound. So a lot to ponder. All of the presentations were well executed and well researched. I just want to give a shout out to the teachers, Mr. Pluth, Mr. Scioli, Ms. Budrus, for their work in facilitating this great instructional program. Some South Country happenings and more generalized. We had Strong Youth, it's a Long Island organization. Their founder, Sergio Argueta, came and did a presentation For our middle school students, again, about being supportive of one another and making good choices. And what I was amazed about it, he did the presentation for all 3 grades, and the kids were extremely silent and attentive, just because of the power of his presentation. We also had some professional learning for our new teachers, and we're really embarking on this technology and the leadership of Ms. Albrecht. This was just on instructional technology. We're now kind of shifting into multifaceted authentication for emails outside of the district as we work towards preserving our cybersecurity in the district. So it's not just to support instruction, but to make sure we keep our data safe. Another great support for our teachers, and this happened a little while ago, is our BTA. I had the pleasure of attending the BTA Mentor Dinner along with trustees Felice, Hayes, and Kavanaugh. And I just wanted to give a shout out for the teacher mentors who helped kind of pave the way for our new teachers from that perspective. And our teachers and administrators are both doing great things. We're going to be presenting at the ASCD National Conference in Washington, D.C., along with Beth Doyle and some of our restorative coaches. Teachers will be joining forces to present, and again, putting South Country on the map on a national level. Having said that, our teachers continue to earn accolades, not just our students, and it's with great pleasure that I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Andrew Budrus, who's not only voted the State Social Studies Teacher of the Year, but he also got the accolade for being National Social Studies Teacher of the Year. And during the Civics Day presentation, he kind of gave credit to his students and the program because he really has been one of the teachers that's been at the forefront of our civics education, which is, again, it's such a fantastic program. So at this point, I'd like to call up Mr. Budrus to formally give him the certificate. And if you want to say anything to the board, by all means.
Sure, I'll just say it's a strange thing to get this sort of recognition because there's so many social studies teachers in the country, and I'm under no illusions because I know that really it's about the work we do here. So when I say the work specifically, I know that the National Council for Social Studies, they want civics education, but they love that we put our students in a position to engage in civic action. And the fact that we bring groups of students together to work together on one thing is the kind of thing that we would want groups of citizens to do together. So I know that was probably a big reason why I got that sort of recognition, that and some of our PBL work that we do here, which is also about bringing people together and solving problems. So if I was in a position to be so supported to do this work, I'm sure I wouldn't have gotten that kind of reward, so I really appreciate it. And then also for me, this is my 28th year teaching, and it was a nice opportunity to kind of look back on my 26 of my 28 years here, because I got to call a couple of people. I called 3 people. One is Bill Griffith, who a couple of people here may know. Bill Griffith. I only had 2 jobs as an adult, and he hired me for both of them. He hired me as a teacher in Brooklyn, and then he came here and hired me as a teacher here. So I got to catch up with him. I called Bob Mello, who's kind of a legendary social studies teacher at the high school, and Rich Bose also. And I got to thank them for helping me kind of get where I am today. And also I just got to walk down the hall and say hi to Dan Favell and thank him too. So we've had a conversation with Dan Favell. He was a really funny guy, but he was a serious influence on the kind of things I needed to learn to be a good social studies teacher. So I just very grateful for everything that South Country's done. So thank you.
We're grateful for you too. And again, it's really fantastic. Every time we sort of present in these national conferences or state conferences, it just creates a little buzz about South Country, and it's well merited. And these things have been happening for a long time, and it's now we're just kind of making a greater effort to just advertise it more because it is pretty fantastic. Also excited, a big piece of this puzzle is parent involvement. So I'm really happy to announce that we have a new SEPTA chapter. That's a Special Education Parent Teacher Association. Their charter was accepted and made official recently. So we're going to give a big shout out to Ms. Liz Pasquale and Ms. Ayadicio, who kind of led the charge. Their first SEPTA meeting is going to be hosted here in this boardroom on January 17th. I'll be presenting along with Ms. Carlson and Ms. Prush on our special education programs. just to welcome the organization to our district. We're happy to have their support. And their support would not be possible if it were not for the support of our entire PTA council. So I want to encourage, I had the pleasure of attending the administrators and PTA president's dinner with our PTA council, and I just love the continual collaboration. Like the African proverb says, it really does take a village. And when we see all of us coming together toward our common goals, it's a fantastic thing. So we're hoping 2024 will have a lot more of this, and I'm excited at the prospect of our continual growth. And if you want to get in touch or stay in the loop of what's happening, as I always say, there's lots of ways in staying in touch. First is a community portal. You can subscribe to it to get district-wide emails anytime there's announcements regarding inclement weather. It might be forthcoming. This might be the season. We finally get that snow day. Not that I want to premeditate anything. We also have a link on our homepage that has all of our social media handles. They've really expanded. I really encourage the community members to follow all the various social media links because you'll see highlights from all of our buildings and all of our programs, including some highlights for myself. There's a Superintendent's Corner link that opens up the Superintendent's Corner. I update that on a monthly basis. My contact information is there, as well as my weekly update. Again, a weekly blog post that I post on Fridays, usually on the website by Monday. And finally, there's a social media links for my 3 handles. I have a social media link to X, which used to be Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, in which I post kind of district activities. So stay in the loop, stay in touch, and thank you for your support. That concludes my superintendent's report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alrighty. Did you, with Syntax, did you want to grab a quick picture
Yeah.
with Mr. Buttress? Okay,
Sure.
you want to do that now?
Want the board to be in the picture, or?
You want the board to be in the picture?
It's up to you, trustee Felice.
You can get the picture.
Stand.
Yep, facing up, we're all good. Perfect.
Oh, selfie.
Nice to know.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was getting you roped into.
It's all good. Hold up there.
Friday and Saturday.
Perfect, thank you. Congratulations again.
All right, that brings us up to the board officers' report. Okay, Mr. Barrett? No?
Happy New Year, one and all.
Okay. All right. Okay, nothing? Nothing?
Just to recap the.
Right, ditto.
It's basically ditto for everything that happened in December and the terrific Civics Day at the high school last week. Thank you.
All right, yeah, I mean, everything that the superintendent pointed out that we were able to join him on was just fabulous. The concerts just continue to amaze all of us, and your solo was just fantastic. And we understand you ad-libbed that solo? It was improv, the whole thing.
And I didn't even know.
And you didn't even know
He
he
didn't
did
tell
that.
me what he was, he's like, he goes, "Hey, you need to sit up front." I go,
Oh my
"I'm
God,
sitting
it was
up."
just
He goes, "You need to
amazing.
sit up front." I'm sitting there, and the tears just went. And then between him and Alexa, they were partners in crime. And then I see him in the corner. He looked at me. I start crying. He's getting teary. I'm like, "Oh no, this is not helping."
And I have to tell you, the longer I'm on the board, and I have to shout out to the teachers. I don't know how you do it, saying goodbye to these kids all the time, because it's just so heartbreaking that they grow up and then they move on, because it's so hard to say goodbye to such good kids, right? Oh my God. Anyway, well, we'll hear from one more student that we're going to have to say goodbye to this year, but that'll be another tearjerker.
We may have to sabotage your graduation.
You already almost
Bell
have
said
it
he
in
was gonna
July,
fail
so.
me this year.
I think you only have 21 credits.
Mr. Flippin? Okay, all right. Ms. Johnson, your report?
This Christmas, we had a very successful food drive and were able to donate many meals to families in need. We are also continuing our coat and warm weather clothing drive, so any donations that anyone has in the community, you can send them to the high school for student council. We also had a very festive Spirit Week, and our band and orchestras played music for students as they entered the building. Chorus also caroled around the building, spreading Christmas cheer. Our student council will be attending a National Lead Conference in Washington, D.C. In a couple weeks, actually. At this conference, we will learn from other schools, tell other schools what we do here at Bellport, and collaborate with leaders around the world as we listen to guest speakers. This conference will be a great opportunity for us to learn more about leadership to implement at Bellport and showcase what we do here as well. On February 3rd, Student Council and the Outdoors Club will be hosting a ski trip. All high school students are able to go on this trip, and we're excited to go again after the great time we had last year as a school. We have a special school community, and it shows on trips like this, and maybe Mr. Santana will join us this year. On February 9th, we will be acknowledging PS I Love You Day. This is a way to bring awareness to students on mental health, as well as to foster a welcoming environment and recognize the importance of being compassionate. We encourage everyone to wear purple. We decorate the building and take part in PS I Love You Day activities. That's everything.
Oh, one more shout out to the sports teams. I've been attending a lot of the sporting events, and, hats off to all the different sports that are taking place here in the winter, especially the girls' basketball. I've really been enjoying your team.
Thank
You've been coming together. Communication has really improved with your team, and it shows, so continued good luck.
Thank you.
All right?
Very nice. We'll have a special presentation at next board meeting for our winter athletics.
Okay.
And also, one of the things I failed to mention is not only are teachers or administrators putting South Country on the map, students are too. So by attending these conferences in DC, whether it's a culinary competition in Florida, it's amazing to get that exposure for our district, because we are doing a lot of great things. So, really proud.
All right, terrific. Is there a fundraiser for the culinary? Did you mention that? They
I
having
did
something?
mention that, but they are having a few fundraisers. It's all different stuff.
I saw
I can
something
find
on their social media
Yeah,
page.
they had they had posted something. I know that they had an empanada fundraiser that ended. They also did a chocolate fundraiser,
Okay.
like the PTA had done.
Okay. All right, thank you. Public commentary, do we have any cards? No cards, okay. No items for discussion and action. That brings us to board consent agenda item for curriculum. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, President Felice. The administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules G1 through G5.
Okay, need a motion and a second for G1 through G5. We have a motion and a second. Motion by trustee Kavanaugh, seconded by trustee Barry. Any discussion? And here we are approving those trips that trustee Johnson just spoke about. So, no other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Seeing all hands raised, the motion is approved unanimously. And that brings us up to board consent agenda item for personnel.
The administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through H9.
All right, thank you. Need a motion and a second for H1 through H9. Who would like to make that motion? I'm just going around the horseshoe, giving everybody a chance. Okay?
Jill got it.
All right, well,
I'll go two.
haven't-
I'm number 2.
you're number 2? Okay. Trustee Barry, seconded by Vice President Hayes. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. And I just want to thank the district clerk for recognizing my request to list out the items individually on the agenda for the personnel agenda. Thank you very much for that accommodation. And that brings us up to our final consent agenda for business items in agenda item I.
The administration recommends approval of business items reflected in schedules I1 through I7.
Okay. Need a motion and a second for item I1 through I7. We'll start back over here. Okay, I'll go back over here. So we'll go with trustee Flippin, seconded by trustee Trent. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. And that brings us to our final public commentary. Still no cards? Okay. And that brings us to our meeting closure. Are there any closing remarks?
We're going back into executive, so you have to hold this till after. you
I have to
come
hold
out.
our closing remarks till after?
Well, you could,
Yeah, just need
you
to-
could go around if people have comments, but then
Then
don't
we have to
take
go
the
back
vote.
into, you got it. Yes, closing remarks.
I figured I'd throw in what you thought in terms of the culinary event, fundraising event is on Tuesday, January 16th at 7 PM at Rudy's Bar and Grill.
Thank you, that's the one I was thinking of.
I knew-
7
What's the-
PM at Rudy's?
7 PM at Rudy's on the 16th.
And it went
Tuesday,
late, right? It was like 7 to 11?
7 to midnight.
7 to midnight.
Past my bedtime
On a Tuesday.
Yeah.
on Tuesday, for sure.
January, say the date again, please?
16th, Tuesday the
Stay back
16th.
from the 3-day weekend.
Tuesday, okay.
Is there a flyer that they need to present?
There is a flyer.
Like like Panera, you have to show the flyer, I'm not
Oh.
sure.
Oh, to go to the
In
event?
order for the money to go to the organization.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, I think you just have to be there.
I'll print it out anyway. I did see it on their social media page. Okay, thank you. All right. Any other closing remarks? All right, so we do need a motion to go back into executive session for the purposes of our public. We will go into executive session, come back into public just to close the meeting. We will not be voting on any other public items. So, and we'll close the meeting from there, so you're free to go. We won't keep you. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you for those who watched online. And with that, we need a motion to go back into executive session. A motion by trustee Barry, seconded by trustee Trent. And now we will go back into executive session, yes?
We didn't
What's that?
vote on it.
We need to vote on it. Thank you. All those in favor? Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. And we are now in executive session. Thank you very much.